Hi, fans of high quality entertainment. Now, this is actually the first time I've redone a video all the way through because I just uploaded a video today and a couple of people were commenting how dark it is. I'm still trying to get the best settings for my camera, plus setting up my lights, and sometimes things just don't work out right. But I think I've improved it. Let me know if it looks better than, especially for my members that saw the original video. Lucky members. But it's basically the same thing as before. I want to talk about what I feel is an album that I've always loved the album. Ever since I was 9 years old when it came out. And of course, I am talking about Magical Mystery Tour. And so when I was 9 years old, Magical Mystery Tour came out. It's the next Beatles album after Sgt. Pepper. I knew nothing about it being a compilation, right? And I didn't know that in the UK it was released as an EP. And this is from the Blu-ray of Magical Mystery Tour, which includes the EP on vinyl. And so, back in 1967, as a 9-year-old, I loved the album as much as Sgt. Pepper. Loved every song. Well, I shouldn't say that, because Baby, I'm a Rich Man, there were always songs, especially when I was a kid, there was a handful of Beatles songs that I did not like. I wouldn't say I hated them, but I just didn't really care for them too much. And Baby, You're a Rich Man was one of those. It wasn't so much the verses with John singing, how does it feel? I like that. I did not like the chorus. I felt it was too, I don't know, I just didn't feel it was a good chorus. And also didn't like talking about Baby, You're a Rich Man. I didn't really understand the lyrics being a kid, right? I kind of thought they were bragging or something. But I loved Flying. I know some Beatles fans think is filler. And Blue Jay Way I really, really liked. And I loved the rest of it. But through the years, maturing like I have, I just feel, and also what got me thinking about this was recently the YouTube channel Taste Like Music. They did an episode on their favorite albums from 1967. And at the end, I believe they had Sgt. Pepper in second place for both of them. And number one was Magical Mystery Tour. They chose that over Sgt. Pepper. It kind of surprised me a little bit, but it got me thinking. It's like, I haven't been giving the love to Magical Mystery Tour all these years that I really should. And so after that, after watching Taste Like Music, in the past few days, I've been playing Magical Mystery Tour. I played it 3 or 4 times. And also with my, as I keep saying, these new headphones I have, which just sound so much better than any headphones I've ever had. And my setup, I've got a stereo receiver now and everything. Proper equipment. And it sounded amazing, of course. And I really focused, like I said in the original video I did, with the Beatles production, it's just the space. It's like, of course, I listen to the song, but I've listened to these albums so much that sometimes I focus on the Paul's bass, Ringo's drums, and I just hear things kind of differently every time. And with Baby You're a Rich Man, I noticed these hand claps that I never really noticed before. And so I'm kind of zeroing in on them. And it's just interesting the way, George Martin was such a superb producer. And of course, it's the Beatles, right? And even in the last few years, I would say things about the song Magical Mystery Tour, that it wasn't one of my favorites. There's something about it that, I guess, bothered me, but it's silly because I loved it as a kid. And listening to it again, it's a great song. And one funny thing that I didn't mention in the original video that the members saw is that opening, all right, whatever the barker kind of says, that always reminded me of Don Adams of Get Smart. That's who I thought it was saying that. And even today, is that Paul McCartney saying that intro thing? I think it is. Unless it's Don Adams. And then also Blue Jay Way, for some Beatles fans, it's not a favorite. Maybe some think it's a little too much of a dirge or it's boring. But like I said, even as a kid, I found it really kind of eerie and psychedelic. And I especially loved the ending part of it. And the cello, and I think there's violins and everything. It's just, Magical Mystery Tour has new respect from me. And of course, besides the original songs from Magical Mystery Tour, on the side 2, Hello Goodbye, I've always loved. Strawberry Fields Forever, my second or third favorite Beatles song. Penny Lane, I've always loved. Baby You're a Rich Man, today I've loved it for quite a few years. And of course, All You Need Is Love, which also I don't think gets the respect it really does deserve, right? From me, at least. And then I Am the Walrus. When I do a top 10 Beatles songs, I don't know if I kind of don't remember, but I Am the Walrus is one of the Beatles' greats. Just a fantastic song, and I love that song right away when I was 9 years old. And, just the thrill of a new Beatles album, and it came with this, pretty similar to the vinyl, except for I like this album cover better, the UK version. But it came with, the vinyl came with this 24-page booklet. So it was, and I think this was around December of 1967, just before Christmas? Or at least that's when I got the album. Yeah, on this, pardon the upstairs neighbors who drive me up a wall and back down. At night, they can be pretty noisy, like in the evening, late evening, 9, 10. I think they have kids up there and they're running around. And a couple of, I try and be a respectful, I'm going to ramble now. But anyway, let's just say there were a couple of times in the past week or so where I've yelled, and I don't yell very often. I yelled, "Shut up!" And they did. It got really quiet. Respect your neighbors, please. Don't be bowling in your apartment building. But this, I took it out of, the vinyl record booklet and I put it up on my wall. And then my brother yelled at me. No. But that's it. Yeah, I just have a new love. I love the Beatles. But like I said, I don't think, I think it's because for some people, especially UK fans, that's not a real Beatles album. And it is. And it's also known as a official album now. It was part of the stereo, 2009 box set. It is now officially a Beatles album. So you can't argue with that anymore. And it was always a Beatles album for us Canadians and Americans. So I love Magical Mystery Tour. Write that down. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like the video, leave a comment below, and make sure you're subscribed to both of my channels. Thank you. Goodbye.